Hi there, my name is Donna Wright, President and CEO of the Greater Eureka Chamber of Commerce. We're excited to welcome you to Eureka Chamber's vodcast. Our interviewer and host is our very own Sierra Spear-Dillon. In this series, she'll speak with local businesses, organisations and community leaders that will share relevant information that affects local businesses. These vodcasts will be resources for the viewer and an opportunity for the guest. We encourage you to engage with us and let us know your ideas for speakers and topics, or if you'd like to be a speaker yourself. For now, here is Sierra with Let's Talk HumCo Biz.
Hey everyone, I'm Sierra Spear-Dillon from the Greater Eureka Chamber of Commerce, and this is our vodcast, Let's Talk HumCo Biz. Today I have joining me Marianne Naess and Lynette Mullen, both from Nordic Aquafarms. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, so first, Marianne, would you like to just tell us your official title and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your position?
Sure. Marianne Naess. My title is Executive Vice President, Commercial in California. So basically, I am in charge of the California business, currently based out of Maine, but I plan to come back to Humboldt as soon as I can. But also all the commercial aspects of the business and stakeholder outreach, communications, sales, marketing, organization as well. So several different hats in the company, but primarily responsible for California. And I'm working really well with Lynette and Scott in Humboldt. So I think we've been a great team and spoken to a lot of people, and we're still searching for more people to reach out to. So whenever people want to listen to our project or learn more about it, contact Lynette and we're happy to reach out.
Yeah, I have noticed that you guys have been doing a lot of public outreach, so kudos on that. Lynette, do you just want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Well, that was a great beginning of an introduction from Marianne. So my name is Lynette Mullen. I'm actually an independent project manager here in Humboldt County. I've been working with Nordic for over 2 years now. I'll have to check my calendar and see exactly how long it's been. But my job primarily has been to create opportunities for people in the community to meet with representatives from Nordic, to hear more about the project and Nordic plans, and to make sure their questions and concerns are addressed. And Nordic, quite frankly, has made that job very easy for me just because they are so accessible and so proactive. Today being a great example. So thanks, Sierra, for the opportunity, and thanks, Marianne, for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you both so much for being here. First, let's just start off with Marianne. Just tell us a little bit about Nordic Aquafarms for people that might not know.
Sure. Nordic Aquafarm was founded back in Norway about 8 years ago. And we obtained the first commercial land-based license in Norway. So basically the company was founded going against the incumbent industry to find other ways of producing fish in the future, more sustainable ways of producing fish. In addition to that, we started 2 farms in Denmark with yellowtail kingfish. And then we decided to expand to the US, first to Maine and then to California. And reason why we're doing it is that the US is the single largest consumption market in the Western Hemisphere, and it's number 16 in aquaculture. So most of the fish eaten fresh here in the country is imported by air freight. So it's a good opportunity to move production closer to the market. And when you do it on land, you're not as dependent on the exterior, like fjords, like you have in Norway or Chile, where you can currently produce it in the ocean. So it's a way of producing it closer to the market, so you can get it super fresh into the market. We decided to go with what we call a bi-coastal strategy. So we were producing in Maine and then eventually in California too, to serve the regional markets. So you don't have to fly the fish around the country, but be close to the market, as close as possible. And we also believe that you need cold seawater, which you have in Humboldt and you have in Maine. So that's the main reasons why we chose those two areas.
Wonderful. So elaborating a little bit off of that, with this being different and being on land, can you just explain that further and kind of the technology and the process and the growth that has happened to get to this point?
Well, fish has been produced on land for a long time, primarily in hatcheries. And then you see even in fish that's in net pens have been gradually produced longer on land. The technology has matured and developed, and that's why we are now able to produce fish from egg to harvest in tanks on land. This ensures that you can control the environment. Like you can control the water intake and the discharge. You can eliminate pathogens, bacteria, viruses from the intake water and create a highly biosecure facility where you can produce. So you don't have a lot of the disease you can find in the ocean, sea lice issues, etc. So, and you can also clean the discharge and treat it so you don't have to discharge into the ocean the same amount of nutrients and like you do from traditional fish farming. So this is a way of making sure that you can produce it safely in one location from egg to harvest without impacting the environment to the same degree as you do with traditional fish farming.
So with the recirculating the aquaculture system, you just keep using the same water, or is it just filtered and then you switch out the water? How does that work?
Well, you recirculate 99% of the water.
Oh, wow.
A little bit goes out and gets treated and then discharged. And what you do is that you recirculate it through the tanks and the RAS systems 1.5 to 2 times each hour. And then you take out the nutrients and ensure that you have constantly clean water, but you need to take out a little bit.
So can you just tell us cost and the development and the permitting, like what is all going into making this going to come to fruition?
Well, first, of course, you need to obtain your permits, and that's a fairly lengthy and elaborate process. We've done a lot of studies. We're applying for a coastal development permit in Humboldt County, and then 2 discharge permits through the Water Board and through the Coastal Commission, in addition to a traditional CEQA process that we need to go through with the county as lead agency. To do that, of course, you need to design to a certain degree, and you need to do a lot of studies to assess the potential impact that you have according to the CEQA criteria. So it's taken us a year and a half to prepare the application and to get it out for public comment like we have right now. So it's a lot of work done and effort that goes into it. The CEQA and the county permit is out for public comment right now. The permit, the discharge permit, the NPDES permit that we're getting through the Water Board will be sent out within a week or 2 for public comment.
Okay.
And the Coastal Commission permit application is coordinated with that one. So.
Okay, so that's nice. At least some of them are joined together. And how timely this is that all that is happening right now. Let's see. So how big is the facility going to be? I imagine it's going to be a massive undertaking.
Well, the site itself is about 36 acres. The building footprint is close to 800,000 square feet. Building the facility itself, of course, we have to demolish the site. We have to do all the ground preparations and then the design, and then eventually build it. And it takes the demolition and preparation probably takes a year to year and a half. And then it takes at least 2 years, 2.5 years to build each phase. So it's a fairly large, substantial project. And then of course the fish needs to grow for 2 years as well. So it's going to take several years till we have fish in the market.
And now have you guys, I know it's in public comment right now, but what has been the feedback from the community that you've heard so far? Has it been positives? Have there been negatives? What's the general consensus that you're feeling?
Well, I think we have great support in the community, and thanks to the outreach that we have been doing and that Lynette has coordinated for us. I think we've been willing to answer all of the questions that we've gotten so far. So I do commend the community for being supportive and asking good questions. There's always going to be someone that don't like fish farming, or some people. And I think you'll encounter those people in Humboldt as well. But there have been a lot of good questions and a lot of good concerns, and it shows that people care about their community and what happens to the community. So I think most questions have been surrounded around discharge, around tsunami and seismic considerations and fish escape, and then some people don't like fish farming in general. So
some of them are just personal preferences or concerns.
Everyone's entitled to their own his or her own opinion, and if you don't like fish farming, don't eat farm fish. But it's a high quality product that we are producing, and we're trying to do it with as little impact as possible on the community or on the the environment in the community as well. So yes, there have been some questions, but I think mostly great support.
Do you think that your public outreach, and I have the webinars that you've been having, and I even saw a while back that people could meet with employees and go ask them questions. So I've been seeing online all sorts of public outreach. Do you feel that that has overall helped with the perception, and if it's changed from the very beginning to now because of this transparency?
I think it helps. Yes, definitely. I think there's still people that are highly unaware of what's happening, and you will not be able to reach everyone. But usually, people that who feel strongly either way have sufficient information, I think, or at least what they think they need. I think it has helped. I think the willingness to actually engage in more difficult dialogue or questioning helps. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Lynette?
I have found that folks with the greatest concerns, generally, not always, but generally are just operating either with misinformation or incomplete information. So Marianne brought up a couple of topics that have come up multiple times. Earthquake, tsunami, in relation to just jeopardizing that facility, but folks are also concerned about fish escape. But when we talk to people, generally they are concerned because they don't understand all of the physical barriers that Nordic has put in place to prevent fish escape. And even in fact, if there was a tsunami, there's still no way that fish would get out of the facility. So those are legitimate concerns, right? People are worried about fish escape or commingling. But once they've got more detailed information about the facility, I think for the most part, those concerns are put to rest. Concerns about discharge, another completely valid concern. If people don't understand, and especially if people are familiar with net pens and the environmental impacts of fish that have been raised in the ocean, of course they'd be concerned. But once they realize and are able to understand all of the different measures that Nordic has put in place, filtration, sterilization of the water in the effluent, and removing so much of even the solids, which is fish poop, which is actually natural. But even most of that is removed before this water is ever sent out into the ocean 1.5 miles out, which leads to another misconception, which is a lot of folks still believe that Nordic is discharging in the Humboldt Bay. It was never the plan, never going to be the plan. But without that information, of course, concerns are going to come up. And all we can do is just keep reaching out to people, encouraging them, as Nordic has really urged me today, is encourage people to reach out and ask questions, even ones that might be uncomfortable. Nordic welcomes the challenges and welcomes the opportunity to talk with folks.
Well, I'm glad that both of you brought that up, and Lynette, that you elaborated on the problems here locally, which both of those seem like environmental and ecological concerns. So thank you for, touching on that. But what about economic? Has there been anything about fishermen or anything along those lines of thinking that this fish farm is going to steal any potential economic development from them? Or is that totally not been on the radar?
Well, I think the feedback from the fishermen is mixed, but yes, there has been some fear. And I think we've shown through the market data and statistics too that the market is growing. There's a supply-demand gap in the market right now. It is growing, and if you look at the growth, both in imported Atlantic salmon and locally caught salmon, they keep their relative share. So although the market is growing, there's room for both groups to grow. And so I don't really see, it's a different category of fish. It's a different customer segment, and there's room for both. So I don't really see a threat to the local market. But of course, people are entitled to have their own opinions and to question it. And I understand why they do it. And we're trying to answer as many questions as we can. And we've said fairly, clearly that we don't want to, drive anyone out of business. We don't want to go in direct competition with local fishermen. And we think there is a plenty opportunity for both of us.
So, Sierra, do you mind if I expand on that just a little bit?
Definitely.
So one of the things, I think Marianne may have mentioned this, but something that Nordic has been clear on all along is that they're looking to replace imported fish. And Marianne's probably got more accurate statistics than this, so Marianne, please correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is about 90% of the seafood consumed in the United States is imported. And about
fresh salmon, yes.
About 50% of the salmon in California, is that correct, Marianne?
Well, the consumption, our market data shows that the consumption in California is about 50-50 in terms of imported Atlantic salmon and local species.
Great.
Which is different than the rest of the U.S., where you have even higher degree of Atlantic salmon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the point in that is that we have, for good or bad, we already have farm fish on our shelves in our grocery stores. That farm fish, quite frankly, I don't know that Marianne will be as explicit as this, but a lot of that fish is raised in net pens in the open water. So the environmental impacts, the negative environmental impacts that go into producing those fish are pretty significant. That is the product that Nordic is looking to replace. So it's, the wild caught salmon, as she said, it's a completely different fish, different market segment. Nordic really wants to replace those imports. And so the question is, if we're going to have farm fish on our shelves, where would we rather it come from? From open net pens in Chile, or from a facility here in California where everything is controlled from egg to harvest. There's a big difference. So that's the choice I think that people have to make.
Totally agreed. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so moving on, because we don't have a whole lot of time. Marianne, could you also, or Lynette, tell us about some of the employment opportunities that are going to be arising, whatever level of employment opportunities there might be. Can you kind of just give people some awareness of maybe some things they could start thinking about, and maybe there could even be a job there for them?
Sure. I think if we start with construction, there will be probably about 250 to 300 jobs on site at peak. We are trying to look for as many local contractors and employees as possible. So we will go with both union and non-union work, which I think is important to ensure that we can fill up the job with as many local as qualified we can find that are qualified in Humboldt. When it comes to the facility itself, in full operation, it will be about 150 full-time jobs, and they will range from fish production to processing to maintenance to quality assurance, to through like normal administrative jobs, staff functions, management functions. So there will be a whole array of different jobs, from ranging from high school diplomas to or aquaculture for certificates that we are developing at CR, to people with master's degrees and bachelor and master's degrees. So, and from entry level jobs to people with a lot of experience. And we are trying to look for as many local employees as possible. There might be a few expert positions that we need to take from somewhere else, because this is a small industry, on a worldwide basis.
Right.
But we hope to train and employ most people locally.
Well, I think that's great news that there's going to be a wide variety of employment opportunities coming up, like you said, just from a high school diploma to something more certified. So I think having that diversity for jobs is great.
And that's why we chose Humboldt too. It's a nice community to live in and working and bring your family or live with your family. And a lot of our aquaculture facilities are placed in very remote locations and struggle with recruitment. And I think scarcity of qualified resources is a threat to this industry and many other industries as well. And that's why, a community like Humboldt with CR and HSU, and with a long seafood fisheries, culture, it's an excellent place to be for a facility like this.
So of all the places in the world, you guys, I know, have places all over the world, but how did you actually find Humboldt and think, it fits all the requirements of the next place that we want to branch out to?
Well, we were looking for a place at the West Coast, and we started to look at south of the Bay Area to the Canadian border. We wanted to be inside the US, and did a scientific search, and you have several criteria that you look for. And Humboldt was the place that we found that satisfied most of these criteria. You have a discharge pipe in place, you have access to fresh water and cold seawater, you have a constructible site, you have a nice community, you have infrastructure in place that we need. So it just turned out to be the best alternative that we found on the West Coast. So,
well, that's great. Okay, so moving on, I've heard that Nordic is having some collaborations to develop local educational programs. You said working on an aquaculture certificate that people can get through CR. What are some of the other things that you guys are working on?
I guess, Lynette, you can speak to that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Actually, I grew up here in Humboldt County, so it's really fun to watch and be able to support the work that Nordic's doing in developing educational programs. And in part, put bluntly, it's because they need the workforce. A lot of our local employers actually struggle to find qualified people. And Nordic has made it a priority to hire local, but we don't necessarily have a lot of local people here now that have experience or training in aquaculture. So so the conversation started with College of the Redwoods and HSU. College of the Redwoods is reviving their aquaculture program. They used to have a hatchery. They used to have a pretty robust program. So Nordic's been a catalyst for that, but College of the Redwoods actually had to look at aquaculture as a whole in the industry, and it's growing. Job opportunities are growing all over the state and all over the West Coast. So they're reviving that program. Nordic and other aquaculture industry representatives are supporting that, talking about the on-the-ground skills that they'll need, that these employers need. So that's pretty cool. I'm also working with HSU, their fisheries program, and then College of the Redwoods and HSU have been working a lot more closely together. So students that want to go on from College of the Redwoods program into HSU, I think will have a much easier time of that. And then a really fun thing that's been happening is collaboration with Humboldt County Office of Education. So Colby Smart from HCOE heard Marianne present and realized that we don't really need to wait until students are going into college to expose them to aquaculture, the industry opportunities, and that sort of thing. So Eureka High School has an aquaculture program. So looking to develop that more. I'm looking for dual enrollment opportunities. So high schoolers can actually take classes that will get them credit at College of the Redwoods, which is fantastic for all kinds of reasons. And then there are even Nordic employees that are doing classroom presentations to younger students, just around fish biology, fish health, but also, again, introducing them to the field of aquaculture. They have a steelhead in the classroom program where classrooms actually get eggs and raise those eggs. And if we didn't have COVID at the end of the school year, my understanding is they release those fish into the local river. So tying those experiences more closely to private sector jobs, real world kind of experience and applicability is just really exciting all the way around. So, and Nordic's doing everything they can to support those efforts. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah, that is great. And I think reaching out to not only the local youth, but the high schoolers that are going into college and then the kids that are in college now, because I know that's a big problem with Humboldt as well, is that like retention of students, they go to CR and then they leave, or they graduate from HSU and then go to other places to find careers and employment opportunities. But it seems like with something like this facility that, they could become experienced in aquaculture and it'd be a great career for them.
Absolutely. Actually, Marianne's already initiated conversations with College of the Redwoods. We'll also be talking to HSU and others about establishing a scholarship program, specifically in aquaculture. But what we've talked about is not just making it about funding, but also about creating internships or other opportunities for these students to have hands-on experience in aquaculture as they're going through their program. Again, kind of solidifying, hopefully, that connection and keeping, like you said, more of those students here in the area.
Yeah, you could even do field trips to give, kids a firsthand experience. Those are always beneficial and, leave those lifelong lasting memories. Lynette, is there anything else that you wanted to add on top of that?
No, just that it's exciting. Anybody watching here, if you are involved in an educational program or a school, they've just started to do presentations, but folks are always welcome to reach out to me and we'll see if we can get something set up. I just think it's a great thing.
So Marianne, back to you. So on your website, it says that Nordic is dedicated to leadership in fish welfare, quality, and sustainability in land-based seafood production. Can you just elaborate on some of the key elements or strategies or things that Nordic thinks about when it is trying to be this leader in fish welfare, quality, and sustainability?
Sure. I think if you start with the sustainability and the impact that you leave on the environment, I think especially the treatment that we have, our water treatment, taking out 99% of the solids, the biological oxygen demand, the phosphorus, and more than 90% of the nitrogen. That's to leave less of an impact on the environment, and that's important. And we go to a much greater extent than most traditional fish farms in operations or in planning today to do that. When it comes to fish welfare, I think the high level of biosecurity ensures that the fish can grow and thrive. You also see that through your quality assurance and practices, the way you treat your fish, the way it's fed, the way you treat clean the water, the way you observe the fish and ensure that it grows and thrives. And we want to make sure that we get healthy fish that grow fast enough. So you want to make sure that all the parameters that are into good animal husbandry or fish welfare is in place. And that's we're placing quality over quantity or speed. For us, it's super important to design this properly and make sure that we are moving forward, but not on the we're not sacrificing quality or planning and operational control to a more rapid time to market. It's so important to do this well. It's a new and emerging industry with a lot of challenges. But as long as you plan it well and have the experience, we have so far produced fish without any incidences at all. No major disease outbreak or die-offs, but you do read about these in the industry. So I think it is vital to have high quality focus, high biosecurity focus, high sustainability focus. And I think that's also where you gain the social contract, or the acceptance in the communities that you do care about, both the environment and the health of the animals.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you really want the public here in Humboldt to know, or set the record straight on, or anything along those lines? I know Lynette kind of did that about the community concerns.
Well, I think, we need to get the message out, and there's some people you will never change their mind, and that's fine. For people that have concerns, I think it's important that they read through the documentation, they come to our meetings and listen to the facts that we can present. If there are any things you want to make, to make the record straight, I don't think fish can escape from the facility, even with the tsunami. We've done the tests and the studies for it. It is highly contained. We are removing nutrients. The discharge water is clean, and all the assessments show that it won't have any detrimental or any significant impact on the ocean. And then we want to be a good, partner in the community, provide good jobs and good steady jobs, and with a high retention level. We want to keep people. We train them, and then we want to keep them. So we want to be a good, employer and partner in the community. But it's a long effort going forward. So right now we're looking forward to getting the feedback and the comments, and then we'll work our way through that, and hopefully we'll have permits, in a few months.
And with the discharge, you said it's completely clean, but how much is it going to be? You said you retain 99% of it. So is the discharge the only 1%, or you figure that out down the line?
We do. We continue to discharge 1%. So that, is accumulated up to 12.5 million gallons a day. Not all of it. A lot of it is, 1/3 of it is cooling water that we just kind of bring in to cool down the water that we are discharging.
Okay.
But it also benefits the discharge in terms of the dilution factor. So it's more highly diluted. It has a salinity of about 27% or 27 ppt as a parts per million, parts per thousand. Mm-hmm. And the ocean would have approximately 32, 33. So it's a brackish water, but fairly salty that we're discharging. So it should leave, as our studies show, an insignificant impact. But I do feel, I do understand that people want to look into it and check it out. It's important. Ocean challenges with the ocean in terms of plastics, acidification, algae blooms, etc. It's a serious situation. So I appreciate that people care.
Sierra, do you mind if I add just a couple of other things about the project that people might not be aware of?
Yes, definitely. Please do so.
Great. So Marianne was talking about sustainability, and one thing that comes to mind for me is their use of solar power, which is something I know there are some concerns out in the community about the energy usage. And Marianne can expand on this, but they're using solar power to offset that to a certain extent. Looking forward to other sources of power, renewable power being generated. So that's a very exciting piece of what they're doing. Some of the other things that have come up, and this is folks have asked if they've consulted with the tribes. So that's something that comes up a lot. It's of course a very understandable concern. And I've been very fortunate in my position that Nordic has been very proactive and very clear from the beginning. That they want to work with the tribes. They want to communicate with tribal members, tribal leadership, understand concerns, keep them involved in the process. And so we have been meeting with tribal members and tribal representatives for the last 2 years. They were very much involved in the production of the cultural resources report, which isn't shared publicly. So that's something that people aren't necessarily aware of, but tribal representatives worked with consultants that Nordic hired. Nordic just stayed out of the process, but to go out and assess the site and appropriately address any potentially sensitive areas. And so I really appreciated their approach on that. And then the third thing that I think is really important that I don't know that everybody understands, actually it's a two-parter here. Nordic is not getting county, state, federal subsidies. They're not getting any extra funding to build this project. And that said, I think what's really important and that Humboldt, I think, would really value is that they're cleaning up the site. It's effectively an industrial wasteland out there. Fortunately, a lot of the most toxic materials have been removed, but it's still a disaster that's literally going to take millions of dollars to clean up. And Nordic finds that location, that site, the infrastructure that we've got, the functional infrastructure, so valuable that they are willing to make that investment to clean up that site. And I can't imagine another company ever coming in to do that, especially at that cost, millions of dollars. And so I personally, just having been here forever, I'm extremely thankful to Nordic for taking that on as part of this project.
Well, thank you so much for elaborating all that. I think that is another big part of it. Obviously, you know, the environmental cleanup over there and using land that is currently, like you said, a wasteland and not serving any real purpose, but has, you know, apparently a lot of potential. So thank you very much for that. I wanted to go back to Marianne. I was thinking of something in your last response. You had said that at your other aquaculture farms that you had no incidents there. Can you just expand on how successful those other ones that you have around the world are?
Well, I think it's important. We started at a smaller scale than what we're proposing in Maine and then in Humboldt, which I think is important because there is a lot of lessons learned and a lot of, I think, training that goes into it, design improvements, continuous improvements. So we have learned, and then every time we build something, we expand it a little bit, and then we also improve it, basically. So every design is a little bit improved. So going straight onto like a large scale, I think would be challenging and risky. What we do is that when we build a facility like the one in Humboldt, you basically take the size of a farm that we run in Scandinavia, and then you replicate it. So you have several smaller farms adjacent to each other, and then you can get the benefit of scale for all the supporting infrastructure. And you size it according to the market and the what the market, what the demand in the market is, and what the facility or the site would love for. And so it's a gradual increase that, you know, in terms of continuous improvements and in terms of size and in terms of experience, which I think is important. So for every time we build one, we have a good learning. And the one in Humboldt will be our fifth farm. So we do have a lot of good experience that we bring into designing this facility as well.
Right. I think that's important that it's not your first rodeo, that you guys are established and know what you're doing at this point. I don't know if you said at the beginning, how long has Nordic Aquafarms been around?
Well, the company itself was started about 8 years ago, but the founder of the company had also worked in aquaculture before then. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when you start a company like that, you start with gathering a lot of experienced people. So the cumulative fish farming experience in the company is substantial. And we also acquired a company that has designed these facilities for 20, 30 years. So we do have a lot of design experience in-house as well. So there's a lot of expertise in the company that's been built up over the last several years.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay, we're getting close. I was going to try to make this 30 minutes, but it almost been an hour. So I'm sorry to keep you for the full time. But that was so enlightening. And, of course, I had read things online, but you never know if what you're reading is actual fact or where it's coming from. So to actually get to speak with both of you and hear things, from the best point of contact, was, again, enlightening and educational and informational, and I hope it can enlighten others as well. Before my Zoom completely times out, do you ladies want to add anything else?
No, just that we're happy to be in Humboldt, and we're grateful for the interest in the project and the support that we are getting in the community, and that we hope to be a good, employer and partner with the residents of Humboldt. So we're looking forward to it, and looking forward to feedback and input during the public comment period as well.
So just to add on to that, I want to thank you so much for creating this opportunity, and please thank Donna for us too. I just want to add, as you can see, Nordic is open. They want to be transparent, and they want to communicate with the community. They want to understand concerns. So I just really want to encourage people, if you've got questions, if you've got concerns, if you've got maybe service clubs that are interested in getting more information about the project, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. The Eureka Chamber's got my contact information. Happy to set up a meeting or presentation. So please do so.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Everyone, Lynette was joining us from right here in Humboldt, and Marianne was joining us all the way from Maine. So we're super lucky for Zoom and technology that we were able to connect with her. Anything else, ladies, or should we say our farewells?
We're all set, and thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and thank you both so much. We are very appreciative. And Marianne, again, thanks for your time. Lynette, thanks for your time and for getting this all set up. And the Eureka Chamber appreciates you as a chamber member.
Thank you.